Hmm. So the journey that we're on is one of true transformation because the way things have been, uh, well, can't be anymore. There's change happening, whether we like it or not, whether we're comfortable with it or not, change is happening. So this transformative journey that we're on is really about reconfiguring how we show up in life, the way that we do the things that we do, and to open ourselves up to a new possibility. And when we remember that really what we teach is possibility, anything that we can imagine, we can create. So if we go back to John Lennon's song, imagine, just imagine a world that actually works for all life, the highest and best potential of all life. What might that look like? And of course, we don't really know because we've never seen it. Now, we can imagine that, well, maybe there'd be fewer killings, or maybe people would be kinder to one another. Maybe there'd be less road rage. But the truth is that we are birthing a brand new world, and we have no idea what it's supposed to be or what it could be. All we know really is what we don't want. Am I right about that? You know, we don't want shootings in schools. We don't want wars happening, you know, in hundreds of countries around the world. We don't want, you know, racialized violence. We don't want any of those things. And yet here we are, living in a world that is very much like that. So how do we change it? What do we do? And so it begins with each one of us to reassess what it is we believe about life, what we believe for our own selves, and also what we believe is available to others. And as we explore our beliefs, we begin to unpack what it is we've been taught or conditioned to believe, which causes us then to live in the fashion that we live. So what do we do instead? So for me, I'm currently reading a wonderful book called Birthing the Nation of Gaia. And it's written by Sharif Abdullah. And he's talking in here about birth. Now, if we think about that birth process, so I've had 4 children. I've obviously given birth to 4 children. Birth is messy. It's messy, it's painful, and we get over it quickly as parents, because then we have this little baby to hold on to, and we go, oh, and it's so cute. So we have that. What we're doing is we're creating a new world. And I know that we're in the process of creating that because of all of the disruption that's happening. The Me Too movement, Black Lives Matter, the LGBTQ movement, you know, trans rights, all of these things are coming to the surface because everything's changing. You know, people wanting their pronouns shared. They want to be identified correctly according to what they believe themselves to be. So we're in a position right now where everything is changing, and it might feel really uncomfortable. Anybody feel uncomfortable at the moment? Not sure what to say, how to say it, when, where, and with whom, for fear you say something wrong? Anybody afraid you're going to say something wrong? Yeah. You will. It's okay. You will say something wrong. You will step in the middle of it, and somebody may or may not correct you for it. But here's the benefit. If somebody does correct you, yay, right? Because how do we learn, right? Sometimes we have to step in the mud. So we go, oh, when it's, you know, dark and wet like that, I shouldn't step there because my boot's going to get stuck, and I'm going to step out of my boot and be walking in my sock feet in the mud. Okay, bad idea. Let me try something different. So we're journeying along and we're learning a lot of stuff right now. Those of us who are of an age, We weren't around when, people were using different pronouns. So we might not understand why, why all the pronouns and what's with this they and them thing? I don't understand. That means more than one. So how do I do that? Right? So when I think about these things, the first thing I want to do is just open my mind and open my heart. So when I open my heart to somebody else, I don't look at what they're doing as bad, wrong, and an inconvenience for me. I look at what they're doing as something I don't quite understand. But if I ask enough questions, read enough books, watch enough films or documentaries, maybe I will come to understand. I could go to the Google. Did you know you can go to the Google and Google, non-binary terms and stuff and get some great information? Who knew? Well, I just found that out last week. So the journey that we're on, we talk about being a very inclusive spiritual community. And in order to be an inclusive spiritual community, it means that we have to be receptive to everyone. And that's actually a difficult thing to do because we don't know what everybody else needs or wants. We only know from our own perspective. So as we're on this transformative journey, part of that journey is education. So how do I educate myself so that I can be welcoming, so that I can be loving, so that I can be the person that I really know myself to be? And so we begin to shift how we're looking at other people, how we're looking at ourselves, how we're looking at what it is we believe to be true, and maybe asking the question, is there another perception of this? Maybe I need to just alter my viewpoint slightly, and maybe I'll see something different. So in reading this book, where are my glasses? That's a really good question. Can't read without them, and somehow they've disappeared. Interesting. I only have about 6 pair. All right, so he talks about a couple of things in here, which are really good. First, he talks about the 8.7 million living species. Okay, so that's how many living species are on the planet. One life. One life. So if there's one life being lived by all of these different species, or even if we look at humanity, 8 billion people, everyone different. So he says, what if we're not 8 billion human beings divided up into nations, territories, religions, races, and other illusory distinctions? We are one. We are one. So that's our first step in transitioning into that place of being more open and receptive, is to acknowledge that we are one. So when we look at the ocean, for example, and there's a wave on that ocean, we know that wave is ocean, right? We don't think of it as something different than the ocean. We know it's the ocean, right? Everybody good with that? You are the wave or the individualized expression of God or universe or spirit. So you're it. I know, and that one maybe takes us a minute to wrap our head around. I'm not all that God is, but God is all that I am. So we begin to change our viewpoint of what it is we think is happening. And as we adjust our point of view, we begin to experience things a little bit differently. So the first step is to recognize that there are many expressions of the divine on this planet, but truly there is only one thing going on. The next one he talks about is from violence to peace and security for all. So ultimately, I think that's where we would like to go. Am I right? A more peaceful world that is accepting. He said violence in breaker consciousness. So he looks at the world right now as us having this breaker consciousness. We're breaking things or creating things kind of in a questionable way. Breaker societies are built on a foundation of violence as a means to gain power and maintain control. So when he's talking about a breaker consciousness, that's what he's talking about. He goes on to say, right now there are 100 wars waging on our planet. The US government spends most of its wealth on violence and separation, hundreds of billions of dollars every year, no question asked. So when we look at North America and we look at places within our countries that don't have fresh water, and yet billions of dollars, probably trillions of dollars, are going to the war machine, creating and building equipment that will destroy us. Seems like a ineffective use of our resources, shall we say. The third thing he mentions is going from dogmatic religions to spirituality. So he says it is commonly accepted that there are approximately 4,300 religions in the world. And that really depends on how you count, since there are over 32,000 different denominations of Christianity alone. And we think we know what it means to be a Christian. 32,000 interpretations, I'm not so sure. And he goes on to say, when you consider all the branches, sects, schisms, deviations, etc., the totals could easily go over 100,000 different religion expressions. So the religions and the need for bonding and community, I think what we're all looking for is community and connection. Wanting to feel a part of something, or wanting to feel like our life has value and purpose. So when we start to look at it from a spiritual aspect, we start to see that each one of us is important to the whole. And when we're looking at it from a place of just from religion, it's, you know, some of the religions, it's you've got to do this and do it in this way so that, you know, God will see you as worthy. But what if God loves you just the way you are? What if love is the energy of life that you are experiencing, regardless of the day? So if love is what God is, which I believe it is, then that energy is within each one of us, and there is no sin, because sin is an archery term, and it means to miss the mark. And I'm pretty sure all of us have at some point in time or another, but we're not going to be judged for that unless we're the ones doing the judging. Okay? Because God is love. This universe is love, and it's not going to destroy that which it created. We'll do a pretty good job of that on our own without any help. Okay, the fourth one he talks about from despair to fulfillment. He says, depression, drug use, suicide, mass shootings, high-risk behavior. Welcome to the 21st century human family. It's interesting that so few ask, if America is so great, why are so many of us in despair? And I would say if North America is so great, then why are so many people struggling with depression, anxiety, whatever, right? He said, it seems like all around the world, the human family is falling to pieces. It's no wonder so many humans are putting their hopes on extra-worldly events like space aliens or religious messiahs. So again, we want to acknowledge that in order to experience fulfillment, we have to come from a place of sort of acknowledging who we really are and feeling comfortable with that. So we begin to change our narrative, our beliefs, and we begin to create something else. The fifth one, he says, from fear, greed, hoarding, and toxic relations to abundant enoughness. So when we start to see that the universe is abundant, when we start to acknowledge that there's only this one thing going on, when we come to that place, we start to live in a little bit different way. If I know that I'm one with everything, I'm not going to go out of my way to do something to harm my neighbor. In fact, I'm going to go out of my way to try to be kind and supportive in any given situation, right? Because I recognize that whatever I'm putting out is coming back to me. Okay, so I want to pay attention to how I behave. He goes on to say from individualized to whole-on consciousness. The word whole-on was coined several decades ago by Arthur Koestler, by which he means an object or a being that is whole in and of itself. So we were all created by this intelligent universe. And we were all created unique and special. Every one of us has something that we bring to planet, to the universe at this time that no one else can do in the way that we do it. So we are whole, perfect, whole, and complete. Now, we might not believe that about ourselves. So our journey is to switch our belief, to start to acknowledge and recognize that if we're created by this divine intelligence, then we too have that intelligence, that divinity. So we want to reframe how we look at ourselves. And when we do that, we begin to change the way we live. All of a sudden, we're seeing things in a brighter way. We're seeing things in a way that is more expansive and filled with possibility and potential. So we just want to take a look at what we're doing and how we're doing it and realize that everyone, the person you don't like at all, was created perfect, whole, and complete. So he goes on to say, what is the purpose of humanity? We know the purpose of a caterpillar, the energy accumulation and storage system for the joint caterpillar butterfly being. So when we think about the caterpillar going to the butterfly, it completely dissolves into the nothingness or into the goo, and then emerges as this butterfly. So we too go through our own catharsis. And we have to be willing to change. There's things that we've been doing forever that seem perfectly normal to us because it's what we've always done. But does that mean it's the right and perfect thing for us to do? Food for thought. This is all about thinking about my own experience and inviting you to think about your own experience. And then from there, deciding how is it that you want your life to be while you're here? Is there something that you desire that you have not manifest yet? Is there something that excites and delights you that you've kind of placed on the back burner? So for me, a few months ago, I thought, I work a lot, which I love, which brings me joy. However, I don't have balance because I wasn't doing anything just for fun, except work. So I decided, well, I've always wanted to play the piano. I quit when I was a teenager. So I've started taking piano lessons. It's one way of putting joy back, play back into my life and honoring that, you know what, there's something more that I want to do. So again, we begin to sort of reassess where we are and what we're doing and how we're doing it, and then asking the question, what is it that is mine to do now? If I'm imagining a new world order, and I know many of us are, what are you prepared to do? What are you prepared to be in order to manifest that new world order? What is it you're prepared to give up? Because I assure you that that change creates discomfort, and quite a bit of it, before we ever get to the other side. And all we have to do is take a look around the world at some of the places that went from communism to democracy. Do you recall what it was like when the Berlin Wall fell? And all of a sudden, Germany is trying to figure out how to be in the world because it happened like that, and no one was prepared for it. And even if they were, how do you prepare for something you don't understand or comprehend? So it's a journey, a very uncomfortable journey for a while. So what we want to do is just acknowledge, here's where we are. Where do we want to go? And what do we need to be in order to get there? So that's your homework for this week, is to sit in the question. What is it that I need to be in order to be a part of the creation of a new way of living in this world? Just a little question to ponder. Just a tiny little smidgy one. All right, let's go into meditation and see if we can sort of open things up to make this question a little bit easier to get to the other side of. So I invite you to just put everything down. And if you're comfortable, close your eyes. And let's just start by taking a deep breath in. And as you exhale, just feel your body really relaxing into your chair. Another deep breath. And just relax a little deeper, making sure your feet are planted on the floor, your shoulders are relaxed. And just allow your breath to find its natural rhythm. It is here in the silence that I feel alive. It is in the silence that I hear that still small voice guiding, directing. So I listen intently. And as I listen, I pay attention to anything that feels harmonious with life, not just mine, but all life. As I breathe into this moment, I am clear that there is a new way forward. I open my mind and heart, connecting the two and listening deeply as I become aware of what my peace is. what is mine to be and to do to accomplish this new world order. I listen and I respond to what I hear. And in so doing, I am empowered to be an agent for change. And for that, I'm grateful. Very grateful. I am a part of a new idea, a new world order, a world that works for the highest and best of all concerned, all life. And for that, I'm deeply, deeply grateful. So as I release these ideas into the one, I just wait until I feel ready and then slowly open my eyes.